for the others to come in. The meeting is recorded for posterity purposes. I'm thrilled to welcome all of you here, and I'm grateful that you are taking time out of your amazingly hectic schedule, even more so with COVID, to learn a little bit more about the scourge in San Diego County and what we can all do about it. My name is Dave Oates. In case I haven't met some of you, I'm the immediate past president of Club 33, and because of a conversation with District Governor Steve Weitzen and the chair of the District Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force, it was an initiative in my year, and I'm glad to have a team that is willing to put forth some district initiatives to try to coordinate efforts across District 5340 for this effort. You will hear from one of them in particular, but before I get too far into it, let me at least acknowledge, if I could, the steering committee members who are here, and then I'll also name out the other steering committee members across District 5340 who are working on this. I see Mike Barton on the call, Bonnie Welsh, Mark Rodriguez, and Danny Womack, who you will hear from in just a moment. But in addition to that, we have Ned Silver, Anthony Lompart, Kimberly Schaefer, who I also see, who's a black box right now. And of course, I've mentioned to you, District Governor Steve Weitzen has put forth an incredible effort to make human sex trafficking a centerpiece of his year and what we can do to combat that. I think you're going to find a very informative presentation, and certainly one that I think will be packed full of information you can take away. There will be time for questions at the end of the presentation. I would ask that you would just simply put those into the chat box. I will moderate those for our speaker when we get to that one. So if folks have any questions during that, just please go ahead and put in the chat box. I'll be happy to entertain those until we get to the end of our time. But without further ado, let me introduce you to Danny Womack. And if you haven't met Danny, you really need to get to know her. In addition to the great work of the other steering committees, Danny was the one who put us in contact with Barbara Jordan, our speaker. Danny does this for her day job as well as helps us out there. And I'm thrilled that you're part of the team. Danny, take it away to introduce Barbara.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to get to be here tonight with everybody on Zoom. And I am the past president of the La Mesa Rotary, I think 2 years ago now, the year pre-COVID. That's probably how everything gets marked from this point forward, right? And I have enjoyed being on the steering committee. I want to start off by just giving an absolute heartfelt shout out to Kimberly and Anthony, who have been the other members of the committee that has brought this Zoom today and will bring a series to come on this particular topic. And before I officially introduce Barb Johnson, I just want to tell you I have the pleasure of working with her, and you will see her passion for what she does and how she does it, and just her professionalism, to know that there's people of her caliber that are working in this space to bring justice and end slavery is what brings hope that we can be successful in our efforts. So that's my plug for a dear, dear woman and friend that I get to work with and collaborate with. And the official introduction, Barb Johnson is the founder of Innocence Lost and speaker for the San Diego Anti-Human Trafficking CSEC Community Committee, starting her education in this topic a number of years ago, and was surprised to learn that it was so prevalent right here in her own town, originally thinking it was only in other countries. Once the truth of the extent of this modern day slavery was realized, she started training to bring awareness. She is an ambassador of hope, trained through Shared Hope International and taken case management training with FACES, a facility housing rescued girls, spending time volunteering at Hidden Treasures. I'll add City Hope in there as well. And spent many hours training with the Department of Justice. She is currently a trained speaker for the Anti-Human Trafficking Community Committee here in San Diego. Human trafficking in San Diego has become a topic to understand. We are here to protect our youth today. FBI has ranked California as 13th in the nation, and San Diego is in the top 3 as a destination county. If your goal is to prevent your youth from being touched by this dark industry, education is for you. and for your children, this is a must. So Barb, thank you so much for investing in education and investing in Rotary. We are some of the best people because we're proactive. And so investment here, I can guarantee you, is good seed in good soil. So I will turn it over to you for the rest of the evening. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Danny. I have to say I'm so excited that you guys are allowing me to do this because I started this about 6 years ago and nobody wanted to talk about trafficking. It was like taboo. They hated it, tell you the truth. I can tell you some stories that you would not believe. It's because people didn't want to talk about it. Who wants to see that this is happening in their community? So to have you guys want to do this for me is just amazing. And so you've heard what I've done in the last 6 years, a lot of training. I started this with my daughter-in-law. She was a mentor at the time for the girls. And I realized that I do not want to be a mentor. I don't have the patience for that. But I have a big mouth, so I want to speak, you know. So my job is to tell everybody and their mother. And if I'm in the line in Starbucks, you're going to know what I'm talking about, you know, by the time we're done. And by the way, you'll find traffic girls in Starbucks. You know, it's just so much around our communities that it's everywhere. And my goal is that you guys will understand what it looks like. You'll understand by the time this is over on what to do if you see that. If you're concerned and you don't know how to handle it, call me. You know, my telephone number is on the end of this slides, and I have no problem with you calling me. I do work 2 other jobs, so I might not be able to get back to you in a second, but I will get back to you. You know, so don't hesitate. You know, if you're not sure about what you see, let's talk it through, and we'll see what we can do about that. I am close with the commander of the task force, and we have a huge, wonderful, well, they're not huge. We have a wonderful task force in San Diego that was put together years ago by Summer Steffen, who I love dearly. She helps us immensely with human trafficking. She's always on our side. And so she put this together, and it's easy for me to talk to people. If I don't understand something, I'll find out the answer for you. So please, please, you know, many times what I'm seeing is people see something, but they're afraid to say something because they're not sure. Well, let's let the task force decide if it's something. You know, between all of us to discuss it, you know, just please come to me and we'll take care of it. You don't have to worry about that. When I first started, I called the number for the task force, or the hotline number, and I did that. Gee, I don't know what this is all about. Could somebody tell me? And they were fine with that. You know, so never worry about calling or any kind of suggestion. Let them decide that. All right. Again, my goal is for you guys to understand what this is, to be able to see what it is, to be able to tell your friends what to look for. And this is, you're going to see this in the next video. This is an $810 million underground economy annually in San Diego. And that study was done almost 4 years ago. So it's more than that, as you're going to find out. It's just amped up so much, especially during the COVID that's going on. It's way more than that. It's typical for 8,000 to 12,000 kids a year to be trafficked. And again, with COVID, I don't have statistics on that yet, but it's definitely more. It's definitely more. And what I want you to know, it's in your neighborhood. And so when we keep our eyes open, we'll be able to help some girls. I'll never forget the first time that I turned a pimp in and he had to go to jail. I'm telling you, to know that you can be a part of saving somebody's life was so huge to me that it just catapulted me on to keep going, you know, right? And that's what I want for you guys, so that you can do something if you see it. That's all we're asking you to do, all right? Okay, so this video was done by Summer Steffen. She was not the DA then, and a professor from a professor from Point Loma. And it's just gonna kind of tell you what's happening in San Diego. And mind you, this is a little old. In almost 4 years, this changes dramatically. You know, it's a lot of change, but the things that happen, trafficking looks the same. Numbers are different, timeframes are different, that kind of thing. But it's going to give you an idea of what this is all about. All right, go ahead, David. You can show the video.
It's definitely happening in San Diego County. Sadly, we were first really alerted to this in 2003 when the FBI issued their report that put San Diego as one of the top 13 cities for child prostitution.
Certainly the scale of what's happening here is surprising. At an $810 million a year industry, it's the second largest underground economy next to drugs, which is considerably larger, and just above the illegal trade in guns.
Now we know that children usually don't drive, they don't own money, they can't rent their own hotels and motels, they can't post ads that advertise them for sex. That immediately told us that there is organized trafficking activity in San Diego County. And that's when we all started as law enforcement to look closely to see what is going on, because this crime thrives by being hidden, basically hiding in plain view.
So people that are being prostituted on El Cajon Boulevard are the minority of cases these days. The very visible public exploitation, sexual exploitation is going on, has morphed into indoors because of the online trafficking that is occurring. So we've learned about mobile brothels, sex being sold in middle-class neighborhoods, in purchased or rented homes, in gated communities, and in our hotel industry in San Diego.
San Diego, we did our first case. We were the first in the state to do a case after the law passed, People versus Hall. And it was a situation where a girl was invited to go to a party, but instead that party turned into a nightmare. She was drugged and given alcohol, and when she woke up from being passed out, she found herself in a hotel room with a line of men coming in one after another to sexually abuse her. So this scenario unfortunately repeats every day in every part of our county.
We were a little surprised at how ubiquitous it is, how it's all over the county, in North County, Central County, East County, and South County. And I think we were surprised by the wide range of tactics people are using to exploit other people. We learned from the arrests in East County back in late 2014 that over 100 victims that were found in a 2-year investigation were being recruited in area middle and high schools. And our research confirms that that kind of recruitment is indeed happening all over the county.
So what we see is this recruitment that happens with kids being invited to go to a party, and parents aren't asking enough questions. The process of getting them hooked on drugs, methamphetamine, is what we're seeing right now. When they become hooked on these drugs and on alcohol and on the idea of being popular in the wrong way, popular by being part of the in crowd, then an older person will be at the party, an older male that will pose as a Romeo, as a love interest, and they'll start to seduce this young girl into believing that she's loved, that she's beautiful, that this is all she has to do is just do what everyone else is doing, just do the sexual favor, the sexual act just this one time. But it's never just this one time. It turns into a profit-making business for the traffickers. We are seeing this in every community. So it is no longer, like I say, there is no family that's truly immune from this.
Part of the challenge, part of the dark reality of this is that buyers of sex trafficking are in every community, across every demographic, across white-collar, blue-collar workers, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, across all racial, ethnic groups. We've got a lot of work to do to reduce the number of buyers, to eliminate the number of buyers. And unfortunately, the buyers that are clicking away and maybe moving out of their habits online into purchasing sex in person are also sitting in our pews and in our neighborhoods, are our neighbors, are in some cases our friends.
Every human being has a duty to realize that the reason that sex trafficking and labor trafficking exist is because of greed, because someone is making a lot of money, millions of dollars. So how does that crime stop? It's when the profit stops. How does the profit stop? It's when people stop buying girls for sex. So as a community, we need to tell our men, because most of the buyers are men, that it's not okay, that it's not a victimless crime, that it's not a choice. When they buy a young girl or a woman for sex, they are allowing that person to continue being enslaved and exploited.
Every single person can be involved at one level or another. There's not a lot of opportunity for large scale volunteer groups to go out, and because it's a very it's in some ways a dangerous environment for volunteers to be directly involved. But getting involved in schools, for example, getting involved in helping your schools and the other parents in your schools be comfortable with trainings around sex trafficking happening, since sex is hard to talk about in schools, especially the younger the ages get. But having age appropriate conversations, getting involved in the politics of this, getting involved in the funding of this is everyone's duty and responsibility.
We need to stop thinking that if we don't tell our kids the bad news, they won't hear about it. We need to educate our kids. We need to have conversations so that they have a protective, a resilient system. And also make sure that they have the National Human Trafficking Hotline number, the text number, so that if they see suspicious activity, an older male with a younger girl, with his hand on her shoulder, he's speaking for her. She doesn't seem like she's really in possession of a lot of personal possessions. It seems like somebody is in control of her. She's not looking up, she's looking down, she's not answering questions, she looks malnourished. All of these things are signs, and they should be calling and reporting. They should be calling 911 if it looks urgent. We also have a magnificent San Diego Human Trafficking Task Force. There's a whole law enforcement community that is there to provide resources and to help these girls and women and men and boys to survive and to thrive.
We can stop it there, David. Well, this is where I usually go, what do you think? Was it a surprise? Did you think it was like that? But since we're in Zoom, we won't be able to do that. One of the things I do want to say that's a little different, the majority of what's happening right now is happening online. When I talked to the commander of the task force, it's pretty much doubled, I think she said. So that's the biggest part of it. That's the biggest change right now. You don't typically see girls or guys walking down the street so much. They're still there, but not compared to what's happening online. And the other thing is, the reason that this is fueled so strongly, like Summer was saying, is an average pimp will make $45,000 to $50,000 a month, and that's tax-free. And that will be maybe 4 to 5 girls in his, they call it a stable. He'll have 4 or 5 girls that he's in charge of. So let's go to the PowerPoint now, David. All right, so the majority of people don't think it's happening in their neighborhood. I did a meeting for Rancho Bernardo, and he outright said it, that there's nothing happening in Rancho Bernardo. And it was not hard at all to show him some places in Rancho Bernardo that it was actually happening. All right, next one. Here's some statistics that I wanted to give you. These are the things that I was talking about when I was talking to the commander of the task force. The Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force received 148 child exploitation tips in May of 2019. And look what it is for this year, 644 in May. We're talking about just May, that's all. And that's, most of that is coming from online stuff. And the commander, who is the woman, love her dearly, of the task force, says that they have doubled the rescues of the juveniles that they've done since last year because of all of this. So if you think it's not happening, it's just ramping up like nobody's business right now. That's why I'm so excited you guys are doing this, because the more people that know, the more we can do something about this. And I'm one of those people who actually believe we can stop this in San Diego. If each one of us wants to do something, even if you just tell your neighbor what you're learning, we can stop this, because we have a great group of people and organizations in San Diego right now who want to do this. So let's do our part, all right? The one thing that I was surprised about in the 6 years that I've been doing this, the task force has never had a social worker, and now they do, because this has gotten so bad with the young kids. Here's one of the things, psychologically, nobody wants to believe this is happening, and we do lose our security if we admit this is going on, but it's our job to do this. Kids do not get their frontal lobe until they're 24, something like that. So we can't expect them to be rational. It's just not going to happen. So that's why it's so important, I think, for us to do something. And that's why, for me, let's do the educational part before they get caught in this, because it could take statistically, it's like 7 times of being in jail before they will say, oh, gee, maybe I should stop doing this. So their lives are just messed up for a long time. So let's stop them before they get into this. Next. All right, here, this is a big slide, all right? This information is not to scare you, it really isn't. What I want to do is help you to educate you, because education is power, right? The more we know about it, the better we can do something about it. And one of the things that's really important about you understanding a pimp, they are, well, you're supposed to say traffickers now. I switch back and forth. They are master manipulators. They can get these kids to believe anything they want in a very short amount of time, because they pick the kids who are looking down, who don't have enough self-esteem, they're by themselves. They know how to target these kids. The pimps will tell you in 15 minutes, they can pick in a group of kids which one they can have away from that group in only 15 minutes, and they do it very well. And one of the men was saying to me that his children would never do it. His grandchildren would never do it. I want to say to you, don't ever underestimate these guys. They know what they're doing. They know how to draw your kids in, and they know how to speak to their need. So please, if you think it could not happen to you, not true. As a matter of fact, I had a distant family member this month who got caught up in this, which was a first for me. I didn't realize in my own family, you just don't think it's going to happen, but it does. Okay, next. Here's a definition it's under the Trafficking Victims Protection Act. Any minor used in a commercial sex act is a victim of trafficking, regardless of their willingness or desire to engage in the sex acts. What has to happen is an exchange of money or exchange of anything. It could be phone or shoes or purses or anything. If she's under 18, that is classified as trafficking. If she is over 18, there must be force, fraud, or coercion proven for them to prove that she's in trafficking, all right? And this is the same kind of thing. Next, go ahead. Here's the same thing. I wanted to tell you, just for the purpose of this presentation, it will be mostly about sexual trafficking, but I'm gonna put a little bit of labor trafficking in there also. Just being forced because of money or a lifestyle exchange, or people come over from another country thinking that they're gonna help their family and send money back. There's usually some sort of money exchange involved in this. And here's some examples of what happens. A girl runs away from home. She gets picked up by Mr. Romeo that Summer was telling you about. He takes her back, takes care of her, buys her things, but now she has to pay him back. She had no idea she had to pay him back. So now she's stuck, right? Okay, how about a girl and her boyfriend gives her a place to stay? But before long, because he's given her all of these things, she's going to have to pay him back. Did she think that was going to happen? No. She was thinking she was having a fun relationship with this guy. But next thing you know, she's in a strip club, doesn't want to do it, but she doesn't know how to get out of this. How about a young man who runs away from home and he doesn't have a place to stay? So he accepts food from someone, housing from someone. And now he learns he has to pay for what he's been given with sex. And let me just do a little bit of something here. We have a park in East County where kids will typically go that have been run away from home. And within 48 hours, there will be a pimp there who will offer them whatever they need. Think about it. If you haven't had a shower, you don't have any food, it's hot or it's raining, you're going to accept it. And before long, you're stuck and they don't know how to get out. All right, next. Here's some labor traffic examples. Watch for these, like at massage parlors, nail places, restaurants. There's evidence of bruising, swelling, scarring, not always, but sometimes. Inability to speak English, a lot of times. Third-party control of their social interactions. They can't go anywhere, they don't know anything without this person telling them. Their documents are in somebody else's hands. When they come over here, they take their passport away, they take any kind of identification away from them, so they're stuck. Even if they want to leave, they can't leave because they have nothing. And lately it's taking about 2 years to make you a person again, where you can have identification, where you can get your papers again. But 2 years, what are you going to do for the 2 years? There has to be a house for them to go to be able to get back to be a real person again. Usually they don't know where they are. They have no idea, what community they're in, that kind of thing. Lots of times malnutrition, dehydration, and exhaustion because they've just worked them to death for hours. They could have, diseases. They don't take them to the doctor often. They can never leave by themselves. They are never by themselves. This is a big one. They come to work in vans and they usually enter in the back door and they work really long hours. So if you see a massage parlor and all of the windows are blocked out, that's a red flag, right? You should notice. I'm not saying to go after them. Please don't try to rescue people because the pimp is always there. And you could hurt yourself. You don't want to do that, but there's things you can do, to take care of it. Many times where they live, there's locks on the doors and bars on the windows. There's locks on the individual doors. There's beds in every room because many times they're also sexually trafficked also. Okay, next. Okay, who are these traffickers? It could be anybody around you. You could be sitting next to him and you wouldn't even know it, right? Could be that tatted 18-year-old guy, he's dead to toe, and the guy you sort of think maybe he would be it, right? Or he could be the handsome guy you just met, he's sitting next to you. It could be a family member, many families. That's a cultural thing a lot of times. Many families are trafficking. I did a meeting one time, the woman started to have a startled kind of look on her face. And she, to make a long story short, we realized that she was trafficked and she didn't even know it because it was just the way her families did things, right? A classmate, many times they're trafficked from school. I was at a school on El Cajon Boulevard, and in California, you can't say no to let a child in for school, and that child trafficked 2 or 3 girls before they realized she was 25 years old and she was a recruit to get the kids out. When I first started, women were not traffickers. Now that's not hard to find at all. That happens often. If the girl has been trafficked and she now has to traffic other girls, or the pimp's gonna beat her up. That's her job now. She is also trafficked, but now she's gotta get other girls in. A lot of that going on in the schools. And the girls think they're gonna go to this great party, and the next thing you know, they're stuck and they can't get out, right? The girls will definitely think that they're friends. And I can't see the bottom of the slide, so I think we could just go to the next one. Here's what happens. There's usually 4 stages. There's scouting, there's recruiting, there's manipulating, and then she's trapped. Okay, we'll go to the next one. David, is there any way you could make the slides not so big so that I can see the bottom of them? Okay, this is what happens in the scouting. He's looking, right? They're gonna be, well, let me say this. Who are they looking for? Any background, any race. There was something done just recently by Stolen Perfect. Stolen is a show, if you want some more education, on Channel 7. They did a study for a year. So it's kind of the newer statistics that are going on. You can take them off of that. And one of the things that was on there that surprised me greatly, 80% of what's happening right now in San Diego is not from a stranger, meaning the creepy coach, the weird uncle, you know, and many times it's from the online stuff where he's been talking with her for quite some time and now she thinks it's her best friend, right? And 80% of it is domestic, happening right here. It's not coming from another country. It's in our own cities right here. And this is the one, another one that surprised me was the traffickers in general. 34% of them are white, 32% are black, 24% are Hispanic, and 10% are other. So it's across the board. There isn't any one people group that's doing this. It's everybody's doing this. And if you think of the possibility of making $45,000 or $50,000 a month, I've seen young kids in school talking about it like we're going to get ice cream today. It's not like we think. They do not think like we do. This is such a normal thing to the kids. They talk about it openly. They talk about it. I mean, they were talking to me about it and they didn't even know me, right? And so it's not the same in the thinking process that we have. To them, this is normal. This is what you do nowadays. It can be any, you don't, rich or poor, doesn't matter. Single or broken homes. A lot of them are from broken homes with kids who are wanting love, who need dads to love them, who just in general don't like it at home, all right? Usually the girl with a low self-esteem is often, not always. I've seen cases in La Jolla where she just went off because she wanted to have fun, right? But once the fun turned into something that she couldn't get out of, and then she was stuck. Let's see, runaways always, like I said, the park, they always approach the kids at the park. Here's one of the things to tell your kids, your grandkids, don't post stuff on social media because they're watching. That's a 24/7 thing. They've got pimps on there who are looking always for their next girl because they know they can get her really quickly, you know, without any kind of a problem on social media. One of the girls that I work with, as we were talking, and turns out her daughter, and this is a fine family, nothing wrong with her, and her daughter was trafficking with, well, she wasn't trafficking, she was talking with a trafficker for probably 2 or 3 months. She'd gone out with them and the mother didn't even know what was happening. And I mean, she's not a clueless mom. She's a mom who loves her children and she just didn't watch close enough. And when I realized what was happening, I believe we stopped her from being taken away. In 2 weeks, usually the story is, I have to go away. Do you want to go with me? And in 2 weeks, he was going to leave. So she would have been gone in 2 weeks. And so when the mom investigated, she realized her daughter was sexting with 4 other men at the same time. She had absolutely no idea that she was doing any of that. And this is how simple and how easy it is. And think about the kids who are doing that. Could be your neighbor, could be your kid, could be your grandchild. Okay, next. All right, here's how they recruit them. They just sit down and talk with them, or online, you know, talk with them. They'll be in, a friend of mine's daughter got approached at Starbucks. You know, hey, honey, you look really cute. You know, can I have your number? And kids will give them a number without even thinking about it. So it happens very quickly. But online, if they're watching for anything that kids are saying to see if they can get them to talk to them. And they keep talking more and more to them. And next thing you know, they're going to see them. And it progresses on from there. He will definitely try to isolate her from her friends and the family. And this is also male. This is both male and female. For the purpose of this discussion, it's females. But we have 20%, that was the last statistic I heard, don't quote me on that one, of what's happening in the trafficking are male. In the, as far as the United States or in other countries also, it's 50%. So this is definitely happening for both male and female. Let's see. He will definitely target their weaknesses. Anything they want, these guys are so good at their manipulation, they know how to tell them they're going to give it to them. If they want love, you'll be the boyfriend or girlfriend. If they need a place to live, come to my house. I got a great place for you. If they're lonely, I'm going to be becoming your best friend. If you don't have a loving father, he will become their protector. This one is huge, huge, huge. The dads need to be more involved with their kids. And in our society, it's not happening. And so the kids are looking for that love from somebody, and these pimps know that, and they know how to target these kids easily with that. And especially the kids who have a low self-esteem, the one that's looking down, the one who doesn't have any friends, the one that's pretty much by themselves, she is going to be a target without a doubt. Okay, David? Then it's manipulating, where she thinks they're dating. Without a doubt, she thinks this is the man of her life. This is going to be great. You know, we're going to get married. We're just going to do this for a little while. But there never is a little while. It just continues to keep going. Because think about it. He's making $45,000 to $50,000 a month. Do you think he's really going to stop doing it? So the grooming process begins then. And what the grooming process is, he begins to buy her presents, things she could never afford by herself. Purses, name brand things, shoes. He takes her and gets her hair done and her nails. And she thinks it's all because he loves her and he's making her beautiful for his clients. And so she's unaware of really what's happening because she's just so pleased with all of this stuff that she's got. I was over in El Cajon cutting through the parking lot across Marshall's, and out comes the Romeo, and he's probably got 6 or 8 bags of clothes and shoes and stuff in his hands, and a girl who should have been in school was behind here with him with the biggest smile on her face because he bought her all this stuff. And she's thrilled. She has no idea what's happening. You know, so you can, in that case, let me give you an example. You can circle around and get the license plate, take a picture of it. You can, whatever you do, don't be stupid about this. I've never gotten in trouble. I've never had it been scared, but I don't do anything stupid either. You know, you could get hurt in this. Think about the money, and they're going to protect their money. So don't do anything that you'd be sorry about, you know what I mean? But there's things you can do. You can act like you're taking a selfie of yourself and take his picture. I mean, there's things you can do. So just think it through before you do anything, though. I don't want anybody to jump out there and be super person, right? He will work really hard to keep their relationship secret. Just like I was telling you about the girl that I work with, she had absolutely no idea that she was talking to this guy. And he was an older guy, just like they were talking about. And then what's going to happen is once they're kind of into this relationship, he's going to start guilting her that, you know, it's going to be, you have to stay with me. You know, you got to be sure that you're doing what I tell you to do. Nobody loves you like I do, babe. It's the two of us. We're going to, you know, we're going to take on the world together. And if you don't, you know, it's going to be a problem. So control, he will control her without a doubt in many ways. I've seen them get them addicted to drugs. That's kind of a big one right now. I've seen them get her pregnant so that he tells her, if you leave, I'm keeping your daughter or your son, the baby. And the baby's next as far as the trafficking. You know, so they know how to manipulate them and keep them. One of the things that the sheriff is always saying, that people say, how come they just don't walk away and leave? They cannot do that. Trust me, they cannot do that. The only ones that I've seen that have gotten away quickly are the really, really strong girls. An example, there was a party down at Mission Valley in the big hotels. I did not know that they have big parties where everybody brings in the alcohol and you sit in this hotel room. Well, and here's Mr. Pimp Daddy with his guns and his big flashy jewelry and his cash and everything. And he says to the girl, do you want to make $600 tonight? And that's a lot of money to a kid, right? And she's already having sex, so she didn't think anything of it. Said yes. Well, she didn't get to go home. He took her up to Orange Ocean Beach. No, further up, where a lot of military is. Anyway, Oceanside. And they kept her there for about a week. And when she came back down, she was strong enough to run out and had a 911 number and to get some help. But that typically does not happen. So what they want to do is keep the kids away from their friends, away from their family. I'm the only one that's with you, babe. It's just you and I. And they're so good at manipulating them that they do that well. It will definitely break down loyalties with her friends, with her family, with her school kids, everybody around her. And what happens is, I'm sure you guys have heard of the Stockholm Syndrome. Now they call it trauma bonding. She is falling in love with this guy. He's beating her up. He's taking all of the money. He's making her do things she doesn't want to do. But he also is the only one that's providing for her. So she's kind of stuck in this position. And so it is called trauma bonding. We see it all the time. Okay, next. He traps her by telling her, he's going to film her like you saw Summer talking about. He films her and says, I'm going to put it on social media. I'm going to show your family. You know, I know where your mom lives. I know where your sister lives. I'm coming after you. And so they, again, think master manipulator. They know what they're doing. And he'll beat her if she wants to leave. He'll absolutely beat her. He'll beat other girls in front of her, so she's afraid to leave. There is one of the pimps is known as a gorilla pimp, big, huge guy like you would think, you know, the name gorilla. And there's kind of language on the street of their own that if she's on the street and she looks into the eyes of the gorilla pimp, she now belongs to him, which the girls are going to keep their head down. They don't want to be with that guy. Bad enough, you know, where they are, and so they'll keep their head down. That's another sign, you know, to watch for. And after all of this has happened to her, she thinks nobody wants her anymore. So many times they'll stay because they feel like there's nothing else left for them. Okay, next. They're recruiting everywhere. You'll see them everywhere. Shopping malls, schools, bus depots. I got a notice that the trolley station in Lemon Grove, when it was first put up, there was a third grader that was recruiting girls on there. So the third grader now gets money, so he's in it also. And then he goes to the girls to see if they want to get some more money, and say they have a whole little system that happens to get the girls going. Any place that kids are, they're going to be. I've heard stories about every shopping center. Every shopping center has it happening. There's every shopping center, every place that the kids are, any place that they would go. The pimps are there watching, beach, anywhere. Social media, like I said, is huge. It's gone up just, what is it, quadrupled, I think Summer was saying, just since COVID started. Chat lines, anything to do on social media, any after school programs and parties also. Okay, David, next. I just want to talk a little bit about the brainwashing, because that's where people say, how come they don't leave? They cannot leave. They are so brainwashed by this. There are pimps, in the pimps community, they actually see this as a viable way to live life. And they have a hierarchy as who's the best pimp. They even have books out on how to be the best pimp. And so they are doing everything they can to keep these girls and guys into these situations where, again, they're not looking at it like we are. This is, if you talk to pimps, they will, not all of them, but they will tell you that this is a good thing for the girl. It's a good thing for him. She had it worse at home, you know, so he's actually doing her a favor. It's a whole different mindset than what we're thinking. And so, and I think I said this, that they don't have their frontal lobe, their frontal cortex until they're like 24 years old or so. And that's where the reasoning happens. So they cannot reason. We're expecting them to be rational. They cannot do that because their brain isn't developed like that yet. That's why for me, I want to do something before they get caught into this. That's why my main focus is to educate. And that's why I want to thank you again for you guys for letting me do this. Okay, next. Here's some misconceptions about it, right? It only happens to undocumented immigrants, right? Not even close to true what's happening. if she agrees to the trafficking conditions, then there's really no crime. Not true, right? Anything under 18, right? If there's any sex, any exchange of anything, she's trafficked. If she's physically restrained, there is no crime. Not true, right? Women and men over 18 cannot be trafficked. Again, not true. If there's force, if there's fraud, if there's coercion, she's trafficked, right? Here's one of the big ones. Victims will attempt to seek help when in public. They won't. Very seldom. I don't know that I've even ever heard in my 6 years, heard of a case where she came forward and wanted help. Does it happen? Yeah, but not very often. They're afraid, they're anxious, they're ashamed. You know, they don't trust anybody. They've been taught not to trust anybody. And they are definitely given specific instructions by their trafficker on how to respond to law enforcement. And they give pat answers. They will give no information except for, you know, what the pimp has allowed them to say, that they readily will not go to the law enforcement for help. Okay, next, David. I'm asking you guys to put this number in your phone, because before you know it, you may need to use it. This is the organization Polaris, which is not in California, it's out of state. But what happens is you call that number or you text that number, and they then send that down to our task force. And I can tell you, I know that they send it to our task force. When I first started, I was thinking, yeah, right, that's not really gonna happen. And I would call Summer all the time. Sweet thing that she was, she would take my calls. But it definitely goes there, and then they have enough, if they have enough. Let me say that, if you report something, the more information you have, the easier it's going to be for them to do something about it. If you just kind of give these sort of, maybe something kind of happened, they're probably not going to be able to do anything about it, because we do not have enough people to take care of all the trafficking that's going on here in San Diego. But if you give them a license plate number, if you say, this is what happened, this is what I saw, this is what she was wearing, this is what he was wearing, this is what day it was, this is the store we were at, and this is the time of day that it was. Now that's enough information for them to do something about. So if you're going to turn something in, get some information that they can actually do it. Because the more information you have that you give them, the better off that they're going to be able to do something. And here's an example. I was on a case at a school in wherever it was. And how do I say this? I was involved with this case, and so I was talking to the detective, and I gave this much information. That's all I could get from the school and the girl about this, but it was enough. So I turned it in, and a year later, it took a year later, he came back and said, Barb, he had his stack was about like that they went after this guy, and they watched and watched and watched for a year, and they finally arrested him. Unfortunately, the way California laws are, he got out, right? So a year later, now we got 2 years going, now the file's like this, right? It's a big old file. And he was in Las Vegas, and they were going to just about go after him from there. So it looks like nothing's happening, but trust me, these guys are working hard at what they do. And it's our job to watch and see, to give as much information as we can, and enough where they can actually do something with it, all right? And if it's an emergency, she's screaming, he's pushing her in the car, just call 911, right? All right, next. This is just my information. Please take it down. If you wanna call me, I'll take your call. If you have any questions, you're not sure if you should call or not, call the hotline number. Let's talk about it. But I'm asking you, if you see something, please do something and don't just let it go, all right? And take a look at my website, because on the website, there's an interview with the girl who was older, who was when she was trafficked. And here's to show you how close it is. She was the daughter of a friend of mine that I had known for years. I knew she had a past. I knew it was a tough past, but I didn't know that she was trafficked until she had just decided to tell me last year. And so there's an interview on there, there's a podcast on there, and there's more information that you can take a look at, all right? I think that's it. I just want to, again, go over what you're looking for as far as if you're out on the street. She'll have new clothes. She'll have expensive purses. She'll be looking perfect, hair, nails, everything looking really good. She'll have tattoos. Tattoos are a way of branding the girl so that the pimps know that girl belongs to me. Like you'll see one of the first ones I ever saw when I first started was a beautiful dollar sign. And I thought, why would anybody put a dollar sign on their neck? She had it right here. And sure enough, she was trafficked, but I didn't realize that at the time, so I didn't do anything about it. Crowns are huge. His name will be used. A lot of foul language will be written all over them in every place you could possibly think of. So if you know doctors and nurses need to know this kind of stuff, and we can educate them. So let us help you get to those people. Lots of times, not always, she'll be physically bruised and burns and stuff like that. They'll do everything they can think of to keep her. Many times she'll do it where you won't be able to see it, but many times it's also where you can see it. She'll have unexplained absences from school. She'll get a call on Friday afternoon, and the girls are not supposed to have their phones at school, but she's got one and won't give it up. And next thing you know, she disappears. And that happens a lot on Fridays, and she doesn't come back to school till Monday. Well, she was probably trafficked over the weekend. Red flag for that one. She is dressing sexier now. You know, that she's changing her personality, which could be a surprise to you if it's a neighbor or something. Notice, right? That could happen to anybody nowadays, the way the kids are. But if you see a lot of these red flags, that should say to you something's going on there. Could be falling asleep in class because she's not getting enough sleep because she's working at night, right? I've seen cases where the girl went to school, trafficked, went home sometime during the night and went back to school the next day. They can manipulate this around in every possible way. And the parents sometimes are almost non-existent or don't really care, and so they don't really know what's happening. If a girl or a guy is bragging about making lots of money, that's how they get the other kids involved, because the other kids want to have the money. And so if there's a girl doing that all the time, you might want to think about that one. Usually if a girl's with an older boyfriend, that's a sign. Not always, could be Mr. Romeo, you know, that could be also. Like I said before, when I was in Elkhorn Boulevard, young kid was trafficking the girl next to him, same age, you know, just acting like every day we do this all the time, right? If she will begin to have different friends and be hanging out with different people. Now, none of these things, that happens to kids, right? But if all of those things are coming up, you need to question that and ask yourself, what else is going on here, right? Okay, I hope that you guys will, I know it's a lot to remember. That's why a lot of the stuff is on my website, so you can always go back and look if you're not sure about something. But tell your families, tell your friends, I will speak anywhere. My goal is to stop this in San Diego, because I actually do believe that we can do that. But it's going to take everybody doing their part, right? Everybody tell someone. If you can't do anything, tell somebody what you learned today. Because a lot of people don't really think that it's happening here. So as we talk about it more, and thank goodness it's happening more and more lately where people are talking about it more. Just do your part. I guess that's what I want you to say, do your part. And there's many ways to get involved if you want to do something. Just text my number or call me and we'll talk about ways. So one of my newest things is, and Danny's going to do this with me, in January we're taking training to go into strip clubs because a lot of the girls they start because the money is amazing for them in a strip club, and next thing you know, she needs protection now, and so Mr. Pimp Daddy's waiting for her, and she's caught in something that she cannot get out of. So we're going to take training so we can go into the strip clubs and talk to girls and just befriend them and see what happens. Pray for me. I've never been in a strip club my entire lifetime, so this is going to be interesting for me, right? But there's other things, you know, you can, if you want to be a speaker, I'll teach you how to be a speaker. You know, come on board. Yeah, I have a team of women that are learning and trying to do some new things. And if you like administrative work, you can step into that. There's a ton of things that you can get involved in. I'm a part of the group that I'm in with Mary Ellen Barrett. She chairs the group that I'm in. There's 11 different parts of that group for nurses, for legal, for schools, for anything that you want to get involved in. We can show you where to get involved in. So if this interests you at all, we'd love to have you. I think that's it. How are we doing on time? Where are we?
We are good, and this is a perfect spot to get into the questions on that. And Barbara, I'm so grateful for your time on there. Sandra, I've got you here. I'm asking if you can unmute. You've had a couple of good questions. I think the last one is really good. If you want to raise that now to Barbara, that would be terrific.
So my question was, well, I always thought that victims were kidnapped and taken away from their homes. And you're indicating many are living at home. So what percentage of the victims actually do live at home?
You know what, I can't give you an exact percentage, but I can tell you in my 6 years, I've never seen it. Does it happen? Yes, absolutely. But here in San Diego, it's a social media thing. That's the hugest part of it. I know a while back at Parkway Plaza, remember everybody was talking about being kidnapped. Most of those were not kidnapping for trafficking. There was a group called Mother of God, and the commander was telling me that they were a very strong, cultish kind of group, and they would push kids in the corners and talk to them and grab them up, but they were not traffickers. They were just adamant about what they wanted to do with the kids. So again, does it happen? Yes. In my case, have not seen it one time, but it does happen. I mean, I don't want to just think that it doesn't happen. Please protect your children, if you think there's anything like that, right?
So the second question was, it always helps when you're talking to someone about this topic to give concrete information to make it real. And you mentioned a park in East County. Can you tell us which one that is?
Yeah, Wells Park. Yeah. It's, I'm in East County, I'm in Santee, so I'm down there. And I hate to say this, but El Cajon is the worst of it. And I'm going to have to deny that if I was asked that, right? But I'm hearing El Cajon is the biggest part of the problem that's going on. Is it in every community? Absolutely. But this park is well known, and the kids go there because they want to be together. They don't want to be by themselves when they run away, so, and the pimps know that, so they're there quickly afterwards.
Thank you.
So Barb, just to be absolutely clear, because it might have been just me that was confused. When you said that you haven't seen it, you mean you haven't seen where the girls have been kidnapped, but you've seen often where the girls are living at home and being trafficked.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
I'm glad you clarified, because I heard it the other way.
Yeah, I think,
Sorry. I'm so sorry. Yeah, many times that, well, let me say in my 6 years of doing this and working with the detectives and all that, I've not come across one. But I know it does happen sometimes. But, that's why if we're watchful, we can stop that. I don't want anybody to be afraid. You know what I mean? Call me later. You know what I mean? If you are concerned about something. Because that's not the point of this. The point for me is to educate people to keep this from happening in our own families. This, in my distant relative thing, my brother-in-law's cousin, if had I known, I might have been able to stop this, but he didn't really believe in trafficking, so it, but that's 2 or 3 times in my own sphere of influence, I see it happening.
It happened to one of my sisters, so I know.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah.
And
how are you doing now?
I'll just throw in too, we've seen it with City Hope. When we've seen it be the kidnapping, it's more under like fraud, where like Barb said, they will lure them away from their home and I'm going on a trip or I've got a job opportunity. So it's a Romeo until they get away from their family. We've seen a couple of cases like that.
I appreciate it. I want to get to a couple of other questions. Humbert, you had a question. If you want to unmute yourself, sir, and raise it directly, by all means, feel free.
Yes. The new California SB 384 allows people to be removed from the sex offender laws, and the threshold has changed to 14-year-olds. They can actually be with somebody 10 years older than them. How do you think this will affect the trafficking, or do you believe there is a cause and effect to that SB 384?
It will definitely make a difference. SB 145 is the bill number, and
right.
intended to be helpful in the LGBTQ community, you know, so that the kids would not be labeled for their entire lifetime as a sex offender. And so it had a good side to it. But what they did is just make it awful for the traffickers. I mean, for trafficking, because in California, we have the most unusual, to me, rules and laws, and it takes a huge amount to change some of these things, that we're getting stuck in those. Not in my wildest dreams that I think that would ever pass. I am stunned, honestly, that it did pass, because it will affect it greatly. Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, Barbara. I don't see, well, actually I see, I see the next question coming from somebody who doesn't have their video on. So let me just ask it. The question here is, how can you check your kids' social media? It seems like that's a real daunting task for some parents to do that on a regular basis. What are some questions that you ask? You know, what are some tips that you, or ideas you have for that?
You know what? We just have to be brave as a parent. Kids are not going to like it. They don't want you to be involved. If you are walking past your child's room and they take the laptop and close it quickly, that's a red flag. You know, you should be knowing that you're looking. And I think if we as parents are looking at it, if I don't do this, I could be losing a child very easily and very quickly. And I am not, my kids are already grown and out, but I have grandkids, you know, that are 15 years old. And if I am suspicious, you get on it. You know, you don't worry about them. They are going to be mad at you. I'm telling you right now, they're going to be mad at you. But would you prefer that they have a lifestyle choice of getting into this and being ruined for the rest of their lives? So I think sometimes we have to step it up as a parent. You mean, no matter what question you're asking them, it's not going to be right enough, because they don't want you to see what they're doing, because they think it's okay. But my suggestion, any way you can do it, do it. One of the places that I'm involved with is Shared Hope International. Get on their website. They have some amazing education about social media. And I'm pretty sure anybody can get in on it. And if you can't and you want it, just text me and I'll get you some. But again, your child is not going to like you doing this. Don't expect them to, but your job as the parent to protect them anyway. So just have the boldness to step in there and take care of it.
Thanks so much. And thanks to Mark Rodriguez, our fellow member of the steering committee there. He put a really good website with some information on there. And Mark, you also were asking about parent training. I don't know if you want to expound on your question there.
Yeah, I know education of the kids themselves is a priority, especially when they're in the younger ages and stuff like that. But you have any programs established for educating the parents, since the parents are kind of in the dark as well? So.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me come back. We'll do one just totally for parents. I mean, there's lots of education out there, because, I mean, what a great question that is, because when I first started this, nobody wanted to talk about it or admit it. And now we have people asking them, how do we educate the parent? My favorite thing to do is to go into a school, educate the teachers, educate the parents, and then educate the child, so that if something's going on, then they know what to do with that. So yes, there's definitely education. Then again, Shared Hope International is a great tool for education if you want to know stuff. They have more information than you could ever learn. Or call me back. I mean, we'll do one just for parents and how to handle it.
Thanks so much, Barbara. Appreciate that. Bob, you had a question. If you're unmuted, go for it.
Yeah, I just, what was the name of that park you said in El Cajon?
Wells Park.
Wells Park, okay.
Yeah.
And what do they do there? Do they recruit kids there?
Yeah, they just hang out. You know, kids are, they just all kind of congregate together there. I had a friend who wanted to take showers, you know, showers that you can bring in for the kids. Just, there's so many kids over there. But they just go there to hang together, you know, because they know the other kids are there, and they have somebody to hang with. And the pimps know that too, you know, so they'll meet them there.
So that's the, I think to Bob,
for a couple of days.
But to Bob's question, I think, is that where the recruiting happens? Is that where it is, or is there exchange of commerce between buyers and exploited people?
Usually that's recruiters. It doesn't happen that quickly, you know, But again, if you haven't had food or a shower and the guy's offering you that, you're going to take it, just because
Sure.
you want something, and then it goes on from there. But it could, there's kids know about trafficking. That's why when Summer said, if you think your kids are not going to know about it, if you're not talking about it, the kids are talking about it anyway. So our job is to do that.
Well, thank you for all you're doing.
Oh, thanks for letting me talk. I'm telling you, and just tell somebody and that would make me happy.
Bob, thanks for your question. Any other questions? I don't have any in the chat room. Does anybody else have a question that's coming to mind? You can unmute yourself and raise it now if you did. No worries if you don't. Well, Barbara, I'm grateful for your time, and I know I can speak for the rest of the steering committee that you would take the opportunity here to speak to us. And again, I think the point here to iterate is that we recorded this, and the idea is we're going to be posting this on the district website. We're putting together a webpage on anti-human trafficking, and we will disseminate this to the broad spectrum of the 3,000 Rotarians. And for that matter, any Rotarian who's visiting our district site and wants to learn more about what we're doing. And thanks for setting us off right. This is the first of what will be a series of these education workshops, which we believe is the foundational element to be able to create people of action throughout San Diego County, and obviously be an example for other districts to emulate. So from the bottom of my heart and from the bottom of the rest of our hearts, thank you for your time. Thanks for what you're doing.
No, you guys, you have no idea how happy it is that you let me do it.
Well, I'm going to tell you how a way we can figure out how happy we are, and I'm putting this link into the chat room, folks. I've got a survey that I would love for you all to take. If you can just click on that, it shouldn't take you more than a couple of minutes. They're literally 4 questions. I'm just interested in the feedback. This is the first for us of what I mentioned will be a series, and so to help us sort of make sure that we provide, the information that you're seeking, but also the expectations that you sought for this one that would be helpful for us when we start putting together future workshops. Danny, thank you so much for spearheading this amidst all the other things you have going on, not the least of which is trying to make sure that your kids are on the distant learning platforms in a time for COVID, and I'm grateful for all that you're doing. We are not done yet. Next session will be on October 21st at 6:30, and that is the Zoom link. You can register for that. Danny, do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
I just want to give you a heads up of what the topic will be on that one. Barbara provided us such a fantastic overview. And next time on the 22nd, we will have Leah, who is with Grace, Girls Rising Above Commercial Exploitation. And she's really going to be highlighting some of the questions that we had as far as the girls, how they get involved, why they get involved, how we can have conversations in the grooming stage to maybe help them recognize that it's not a boyfriend, this is a groomer, how to recognize that they're in that kind of funnel to end up being trafficked, and to understand why they fall for it, how they get trapped. And so if you are really looking for that piece of it, the next session will just be all kinds of exciting for you and very informational.
Thanks so much, Danny. And please pass the word to your fellow Rotarians in your club and others that you know about this as well. We're going to, Sandy, I'm going to just give you a heads up. We'll be putting together the similar kind of language for the news bits. But the more people get to see it through word of mouth, the better. We'd love to double the attendees live and then obviously have it for recorded. If you have any other questions at all, by all means, don't hesitate to let us know. Let me put that link in the Zoom link again. There it is for everybody. But if you need anything else, this is my email address, and it is literally just comes right to me. No third-party person. By all means, if you have any questions or interested in what we're doing, let us know. Plan on seeing a lot more things besides the workshops. We are in what I would call the halfway point to facilitating a reverse global grant that we can fund for in-service teacher training for public schools teachers in the 5th, 7th, 9th, and 11th grades that will be able to identify if one of their students is being the target of grooming, so we prevent them from falling victim to this scourge. And we are also putting together some projects in very socially safe distance COVID world to help in some cases survivors, thrivers, if you will, of human trafficking. So we will focus a lot on prevention and education, but certainly not at the exclusion of helping those who have been able to break the bonds and help them move on with their lives in productive ways. For now, just thank you so much. Please pass the word, and I'll hopefully see you on October 21st. Barbara, thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Be well, everybody.